CrossFit. It is very hard not to look at certain CrossFit endorsed exercises and not just think that the whole sport exists just to keep physios in business. From a bodyweight training perspective, CrossFit is seen as the special cousin to calisthenics and gymnastics in a way that it often deserves. And while there are elements of this sport that any sane person would look at for what it is, a lottery ticket for orthopedic surgeons, there are still elements of it that have clear benefits to overall health and well-being. And no, I haven't been brainwashed by the CrossFit community. I just think that it's important in life that when we see something that we don't agree with, we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We take the nuggets that we do find valuable and see how we can apply them to ourselves and hopefully broaden our outlook along the way as well. So what are these nuggets then? How on earth can this be beneficial? Well, we have one benefit that we can all agree on. It gets people to exercise. In the Western world, heart disease and diabetes are among the leading causes of death. Turns out sitting on our asses looking at screens all day is not good for our well-being. Who could have guessed? Our sedentary lives is killing us, literally. CrossFit though embraces a minimalist approach to training in the same way that calisthenics does. Essentially, you can train anywhere. Can't train in a gym? Train at home. Haven't got weights? No problem, use your baby. This was actually taken from the CrossFit website. People, please don't start bench pressing your babies. CrossFit gets people up off their asses and moving. And I don't know about you, but an extra 4 million people up and moving and exercising is only going to be a good thing. On to the next positive, which is form. How on earth is CrossFit form a good thing? I swear, you guys are gonna think this video is sponsored by CrossFit. I promise you it isn't. The form police is strong in fitness, especially in calisthenics. I saw a video recently, I'll try and put it on the screen if I can. It was essentially somebody doing a backflip into a full planche and then pressing into a handstand. And there was a comment that said, shouldn't have arched your back, or something to that effect. I mean, are you for real? Anyway, the point I'm trying to get at is that while good form and staying safe is really, really important, our overfixation on it can sometimes make it far less accessible for different people to feel like they can attempt to even start getting involved in the sort of exercises we do in the calisthenics world. What this means is it takes certain subsets of people and alienates them from our way of training. Take overweight people, for example. If you give someone who's slightly overweight the task of doing a pull-up, they will struggle, especially if you hammer home to them that perfect form is the only way that they can do it. There are elements of CrossFit though that embraces parts of exercises that would make it easier for people like that without completely lambasting them for doing something like kipping. It's why, for example, when you go to a calisthenics park, you're more likely to see the same sort of silhouette of a person. That person generally, not all the time, but generally will look very much the same as the next person standing next to them. But if you go to a CrossFit studio, the diversity across the number of people exercising in that room will range far greater. And that diversity is what we should be driving for in the calisthenics world as well. Now, am I saying that large people can't do pull-ups? No. I've seen large people do pull-ups all the time. What I'm saying though is that for somebody like that, CrossFit lowers that accessibility barrier far more significantly than calisthenics, for example. And while we're on this form topic, I should mention that CrossFitters, for the most part, only really do exercises like the butterfly pull-ups and exercises like it as part of the sport, where the aim is to do as many reps as possible in an allotted time. As I understand it, when they're training for these CrossFit games, they actually stick to strict form for the most part. And a lot of them can actually do a significantly large number of pull-ups. And I know there are going to be people out there that will be like, what about getting injured? Isn't going to be dangerous for your joints? Well, injury comes as part of most sport. When somebody plays rugby, for example, we know that they're going to get clattered by some absolutely monstrous sized person. And yet nobody criticizes rugby players for getting injured in their sport. Why doesn't CrossFit get the same pass? We can also look at CrossFit as being a really good example of community building. We spoke about heart disease and diabetes being a really, really big killer, especially in the Western world. But you want to know another big killer? Suicide. Not to get too deep here, but in a world where we've never been more technically connected, has loneliness been so high? And yet with CrossFit, you have access to an amazingly and quite frankly welcoming community. Companies like Peloton have shown that community building is highly profitable, and they have invested in these awesome communities and social groups. But when you look at the cost of a Peloton spin bike, for example, you can see straight away that this community isn't for everyone. Yet, you don't have to go far to find a CrossFit community on Facebook that is free to join, with splinter local groups that everybody is welcome to, which I think should be celebrated. Essentially, with all of this, what I'm trying to get at is that the banter at CrossFitters is fun and it's a nice joke. But sometimes, we've all seen it, sometimes it does go too far. When the banter goes too far, when it starts getting a bit nasty and a bit personal, sometimes it's just best to back off and stay in your lane. Focus on you. Focus on how you can improve as an athlete. Do what you think is right for you and work on improving yourself. In a world where too many people are happy to be sat on the couch watching Netflix, having more people chasing their fitness goals, in my opinion, should be celebrated. But I want to know what you think. What are your first thoughts when it comes to CrossFit? What are your views now that you've seen this video as well? Let me know down in the comment section on this one. I really want to hear your thoughts on this, guys. Until the next one, peace.